Hello. So we are here today to talk about awakening. So I'm here with my friend Marissa, and
Aw.
we're going to have like this really cool chat, being guided to come together to start from the basics. So today we're going to talk about how we figured out and navigated our way through the awakening. So I am Heather. I'm here in Tennessee, and I am a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner doing Dolores Cannon's method of QHHT. And this is my lovely friend.
Hi, I'm Marissa. I'm from Utah. Um, I don't have any qualifications as of now, besides I'm a light worker and I'm just here to spread love. Um, More to be, you know, done in the future. I'm newly awakened last year, so just
Yeah,
finding my way.
exactly. Which is why we came together. We've had many sessions together, and Marissa and I ironically met on what was it? A similar what was that thing? It was like a class that we took online. It was a 3-week class
Mhm.
that we took online, and we somehow, if there's ever a coincidence, never is there,
Never coincidences, no.
we wound up deciding being friends on TikTok, and here we are now. And we talk, gosh, 3 hours at a time when we need to.
Yeah. I'll like be like, hey, I just want to like ask you something real quick. I promise it'll just be a little bit, and then we end up on the phone for like hours on end
All every time. It's like,
every
yeah,
time.
when she says a 5 minute, like, I just need 5 minutes of your time. It turns into a 3 hour conversation. So that's our life.
And they're great conversations every time.
Yes, absolutely. Which is so funny because I'm 45 and you are how old?
28.
Yeah. So very different in age groups, very much like how we were brought up. She's all the way in Utah. I am all the way over here in Tennessee. And it's just so cool how the internet is really our friend, because when we think that we're all alone on this awakening journey, we actually have the internet to bring us back, which is so beautiful. And we just really like dismiss that. Um, and that's kind of like how we've really ventured together, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. It's so magical. Like through my awakening, I felt so alone and like that there was no one else like me. And I know that's so silly, but like you really are in your own bubble, you know? And you see all these people online, but like it's I don't know. Do you know if you know, you know, you see all these
Yeah.
people online and you're like, yeah, I get that, but then you think they're like so far out of reach or that like I
Well,
don't
it's
know.
not personal, you know, like
Yeah.
it's not like you can watch these people and you can learn and grow from them. You get like activated through them, but like being able to talk to a physical human
Hmm.
being about similar things, that's what we long for, I feel like.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then you really once you have those like, personal conversations, you really realize how not alone you are. Like
Yeah.
holy crap, like when we were talking about like different feelings we were having in our bodies or like signs and synchronicities we were seeing, like it's
Yes.
like okay, wow, like we really are a collective.
Yeah. Very, very cool. So I really want to talk about this really cool thing. If you talk about the grand scheme of things of awakening, what I've noticed for myself is that I've actually had breadcrumbs, and probably a lot of you have too. You just didn't realize it until you are on this side of the awakening. And the very first thing that I remember, and this happened from like the ages of 11 to 13, I had the exact same dream. Very, very strange dream. This dream was, and I was at my home in South Carolina where I was born and raised. And around the corner, I lived on a curve. There was this man, and he had like this staff in his hand, and he was kind of marching. And imagine the Pied Piper, okay? And the kids were all following him like the little mice, and they were following him and doing the thing. And weirdly enough, there was these two kids, and it doesn't make sense, but in my dream, I saw it every single time. They had a pole and they were carrying a pot of boiling water. How it's boiling while they're walking, I don't know, but that's what I saw. And they kept walking. And every time I had this dream, they always got in my yard. And I lived on a hill. So they would come up in my yard and they put the boiling water down and it was boiling, right? And every single time I had this dream, I always hid somewhere different. And I had this dream, I bet you 30 times, and I hid somewhere different every single time. Sometimes I would hide in the attic, and it would be different places in the attic. I would hide in my room, in my closet, under my bed, in the basement. Like I would find all these different places, and the outcome was always the same. They would be out there, and he would say, I'm going to get you one day. You're going to come. You're going to follow me. And I always knew something about me was like, no, I'm not. I am not coming out there. And every time I would see through like these holes in the roof, or I always could see like what was going on. And the kids would jump in. It was just like, he just was like, just get in, just follow me, follow me. And these kids were jumping in the water like nothing. And, they just kind of melted away, I guess. I don't know. So as I do these quantum healing sessions, I've had many on myself. And in a particular session, I asked about that particular dream as well as meditated on it. And what I got was it was preparing me for now, because the mass of society, of humanity right now, is inside this box. And some way, somehow, my higher self was giving me the message that I was never supposed to be in the box. Even though I did, I went in that box. I conformed for a very long time. But there was always a part of me that was remembering, like, I'm not supposed to be there. Right. So it was stepping out of the box and not being in that fear. And that is exactly where we are right now. And that was such a
Mm-hmm.
very vivid dream that I had that was not really had any meaning until now. So I just had to share that. It was such a profound
That
dream.
is so profound. That is like incredible. And that like it's so cool to think about like there's certain things that people will say or do or like you'll dream or things that happen in your life that it's like why did I remember that? Like out of everything, why did I remember that? And so like it's it's meant for a reason. And
Mm-hmm.
so like you had those dreams, you remembered them and there's the reason. Like it's so
Yeah, like
magical.
it made no sense back in the day. Like I literally was like, why do I keep having this dream? It was really a nightmare because it scared me. Like I knew they were after me. And as a kid, I was like the age of 11 to 13, and I was thinking, oh my God, somebody's trying to catch me and like kidnap me, and all the fear things that I was going through. So it made a lot more sense whenever I finally got the message from the higher self.
That
So
is
yeah. And that's the other thing, like here's the other thing that I think that we kind of get stuck in with the awakening is there are stages of the awakening. And my very first like real shaking up of awakening was back in 1997, telling my age, right? Um
that's I
when
was a year. I was a year
all
old.
right. That's what's even funnier because I literally could be your mom. So um and it's so cool that we get along. But when 1997 hit, I was so big into church that my higher self put me in a situation that kind of shook me up into questioning religion. And it wasn't questioning God or Jesus, it was about um, the incorporation of the church and like how it ran and how it was so systematic and very indoctrinated. And I didn't quite, again, it was a breadcrumb. And it didn't make sense until 2022 what all that was trying to tell me. But there was a lot of things that happened to me in 97. I was a senior in high school, loved going to church, and then all of a sudden everything fell apart for me. And that's when I started getting messages from other people. It's like, church is within. And I
Mhm.
was like, what does that mean? And it,
What?
again, did not make sense to me at the beginning. But now that I'm on this side, I'm like, oh, so people already knew, but we didn't know that we knew all these things.
Right. There's like those three understandings that we were talking about. It's just like just kind of the first understanding, like, oh, I know that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I know, like that makes sense. Actually, maybe there's four because I feel like there's like the breadcrumbs. Like
True.
my
Yeah.
grandma throughout my whole life was always would say different things to me, and she's like, "I'm just planting a seed, Marissa. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
planting a seed." And I'm like, "Okay, grandma." And
Mm-hmm.
now like it all makes sense. Like she really was planting seeds my whole life. Well, not my whole life. I would say like, probably yeah, adolescence, teenage years. she kind of knew when it was appropriate, I guess. But for sure.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then, did you ever? So I think this was probably when I was in middle school. I just hated the news. I quit watching the news. My parents watch it, my grandparents watch it, and at a young age, I was like, I don't want to watch that. It is so negative, and I hated it so bad. I remember, again, I was probably around the age of 11 to 13, and I was like, no more. I don't care what
Hmm.
it says. I am not getting engulfed in that. And so I knew back then that there was something up with that. Like, where's the positivity here? Like, where's the love? We never see anything good on TV anymore. Did you ever feel that way?
Yes. I would always, my thing was music videos. So like my grandparents would try to turn on like the news, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna watch some music videos. And
That was way
so
more vibrational.
I was always like, let's listen to like the top 20 countdown. Let's
Hmm.
watch it.
Yeah.
But I did growing up, I did have a lot of like my mom watched media news, like e-news,
Hmm.
like was on our and our house every single night. So like social stuff was more of a thing in my house than like
Hmm.
historical or like not historical, what would it be?
It was more entertainment news, I
Yeah,
guess. Yeah.
entertainment news than like local or
Yeah.
national news, whatever, you know.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, these breadcrumbs kind of led us up to what I call a lot of people had like the big shakeup during 2020, right?
Oh, for sure.
Uh, Now, ironically enough, my mother, I will give this hands down. She got the call in 2019, so she started giving us information in 2019. And I remember it was like November of 2019. We were at Thanksgiving, and she was just like, "You need to get prepared. You need to do this. You need to do that." And we were like, "Okay,
Okay.
whatever." Right. And she just kept on. She's like, "You just wait. You just wait. You just wait." Um, and so come into 2020, I was still a teacher at the time. I taught high school math and science for 13 years, and I started finding out very quickly about systems. So from 2019 to 2021 was my awakening of the systems are broken. Like all systems are broken. Um, and that was a hard pill to swallow, but it was almost like I knew that it made sense to me. Like I knew they were broken, but like some of the things that I found out when you start going down rabbit holes, you're like, wow, that's insane. Did you experience anything like that?
Oh my goodness, yes. But I we were kind of talked a little bit about this. You know, for me, I was just realizing this as you were talking is that I'm kind of looking back and thinking about that time, and I feel like something that is great that happened, but also like because it had to happen was fear. Like it was just a big thing for fear, and on both sides of the scale, you know, like systems of corruption in the government, and then with that being, I don't want to get too political,
Mm-hmm.
but just that I feel like on each side of the scale that they really took a dive into fear mongering. So
Mm-hmm.
like for one side it was fear of your loved ones are going to get hurt. You need to do this because you're like, you know, and that's where I fell into.
Mm-hmm.
I because I'm a very heart-centered person, and for me it was like, oh my gosh, like I don't want, like I would do anything to make sure that everyone around me is safe,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But so I very much complied in that way, but I was very woken up to the injustices of the justice system, and that's what really triggered me to that, as well as I also went to a mental health, like I was awakened to my own mental health and like my emotional body that I needed to heal. And so that was a
Mm-hmm.
big thing for me in 2020. But I've also realized that um since then, the fear mongering, I haven't like let it get me down so low that like, because even now I feel like everybody's just like pulling on fear. And I'm like, let's rise above this, guys. Like,
Mhm.
you, and I guess through awakening, you're like, wake up, come on. Let's just love each other.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
control like your sovereignty. Like I just can't get over how important that is. And
Yes.
that's something that's really within my awakening, is like realizing my sovereignty. And it's so funny, in the beginning of my awakening, I was really led to do a lot of things that I was really like not comfortable doing, like putting myself first,
Mm.
setting boundaries with people. And it ultimately led to like almost every person that I thought was just near and dear, true to my heart,
Mhm.
left.
Yeah.
Like they just like up and left me, and I was like, spirit, like, how could you, like, what are you talking about? This is for my good. Are you kidding me?
Right.
And then, you know, it's come back around, like the same exact situations, like a year later, have come back around, same people. And I've like, okay, like using my discernment now, I'm like, okay, I handle the situations a little differently. And throughout the whole year, have been given like a second chance to some of these people, and really realizing now with a different headspace mindset, um strength, courage, sovereignty, realizing that they really weren't in my highest good,
Right. Yeah.
and then giving these same situations and having like getting to choose, not just like being led to choose, but like now I know what's good for me, and
Mhm.
choosing differently because that's what I want, and I know my worth and my power. Oh my goodness, like I just wish I could just tell teleport it to other people's like minds, like how good it feels to like
Yeah.
be in your own power. And that
Yeah.
sounds, I just, until you know,
Yes.
but it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's scary sometimes, when you're going through this awakening and you're learning about all of the, like, literally having to dig into your closet and find all of the secrets that you've been burying down for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And when you realize that that was the thing that was holding you back, and that's where your fear is coming from, and the spiritual journey is about breaking or dissolving the ego. Like, who talks about that? And that was one thing, like, I think in my beginning, because, like I said, I started waking up to the systems in 2019 through 2021. And then I literally moved from North Carolina to Tennessee, where I'm at now. And I had what I would consider my spiritual awakening in 2022. So it was like all these different stages that I've had to go through. And I lost everyone. Like, all of my family left. My two children left me. Like, everybody, all my friends
It's
were gone.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, like, the hardest was my children. Like, because I had woke up to things that they were not in agreement in, because, I taught them these programs. Um, and I was now trying to take them away from them. I'm like, you need to wake up. But it wasn't their time. It was like this
Right.
alarm clock going snooze, snooze. Okay, I'm not ready for that. So they were like, stay away from me. I don't like what you have to say. And but on the other side of it, now that I'm at this healed moment, it's just like, wow, if I didn't have everything ripped away from me, I would have never found me.
Mm-hmm.
So when everybody was stripped, everything that I knew was stripped. I quit teaching. I refused to renew my license. Like, my identity was gone, and I was just Heather. Nobody was here. I luckily had my parents, but there's healing that had to happen there as well. But they are on the healing journey with me. So that was really cool. But like, all of my friends outside of my like immediate parents, gone. My children, who I love dearly, gone. And my husband was at a pivotal moment too, where he had to decide, do I go with you and embark on this journey, or do I stay the old me and keep going? Luckily, he made the choice to follow me. And so he's with me and we're on this journey together. But it was a very pivotal moment where I had to go, who am I? I had to find me. And that's what I feel like this whole spiritual journey is about. It's like, yes, you can find out about the systems and all the things that's corrupt in the world, and yes, and all the things, but like the ultimate mission, I feel that all of us light workers, star seeds, whatever we call ourselves, right, is to find our way back to oneness,
Mm-hmm.
that unconditional love where we look at each other and see another human.
Mm-hmm. And
Doesn't
the only way to
matter.
truly do that is to know yourself and love yourself. So I think that with everything being stripped away from us in those moments is so that we can really hone in on ourselves, because, and I know this to be true with myself and with you as well, as that we're empaths. And
Mm-hmm.
so we put, previously we put everyone before ourselves. And so spirit really had to give us an opportunity to like really go in deep with ourselves and find out what truly makes us happy, because, you know, and heal the wounds. Because when you aren't healed, one, you put others before you, but you project those wounded parts on everyone around you. And then, the most important thing is like the best teachers are the ones that lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, all of that combined, we have to heal those wounds so that we can lead by example to everyone around us. So even if they're ripped apart, if they're meant to be in our lives and, they're part of our path, like, they will come back, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully in a more healed state, or even come back and, by then, your boundaries
Right.
and whatnot, so that you can protect yourself, but you can also lead by example. Like, they can
Mm-hmm.
see you and hopefully ignite something in them that awakens them to their own healing.
Exactly. I think that's so important, and it's like when you look back at like how everybody has been in your life. I've even had this with my son. He's back in my life and it's such a beautiful thing. Like he's going through his awakening and all the things I've told him, he's like, "Wow, so you weren't crazy."
You're like, yes,
you
right.
know,
i'm
not
i'm happy you understand.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is like being humble. This it's never
Yes.
I've never been like this the one to say with ego, I told you so, because
Mm-hmm.
we all have to awaken at our own time. And it's so crazy how this journey is all really destined out beautifully. The path is laid out perfectly. And there's so many opportunities. And a lot of times it's about the seed spreading, And so like
Mm-hmm.
we've been guided to come together to do this new connection between her and I, which is so beautiful. And it's to go back to the very beginning, like how we went through the awakening and what it was like. And it was hard and it was lonely and but the loneliness is so needed for you to sit in your emotions, to sit in, let all that fester up, because the only way that you're able to literally heal from your wounds is to feel into the emotions, you
For
know?
sure. And as you were saying that, I was also thinking of, as I've been, by myself, my old self was so used to chaos that, like, it was like I didn't even know what peace was.
Hmm.
I didn't know what peace was. And so, like, I just lived in this world of chaos thinking it was normal. And now, oh my goodness, my life's so peaceful that, like, I don't want to go out and do things with certain people, or go to social events, or what's for you, and you can really tune in that way to figure out like
Hmm.
what you need and don't need. And it still
Yeah.
can be hard navigating that, because you're fighting your ego still, who wants to people please.
Yeah.
And so
It's always a learning journey for sure.
it is. I think it's a lifelong learning journey for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But it's so good to reflect and be like, wow. my life's so peaceful now.
Mhm.
And
Well,
to
think
have
back,
that
like,
peace.
having to navigate being, because I've always heard the term, like, you must be an empath, and being a teacher to high school kids, I had so many kids that would just come up and they would just spill the beans, like
Oh,
they tell me all of their life history. And I've done that my whole life. Like ever since I started teaching, people would come in and just spill everything to me, and the terrible part about being an empath and not understanding about how energy works is that in the beginning, we take all of it in, we internalize it, make it our own, and now we've got more
yes.
trauma to heal from because we took on their energy. And they're like, "Oh, I just love you,"
Because you
and
make them feel better because you
yeah,
just took all of their,
yeah.
uh-huh.
And so
Mm-hmm.
it was just like, why? I never understood that. And it happened all the time. And even in the beginning of my awakening, it was still happening. People would be like, "Hey, can you come hang out with me?" And then I would go. And then when I left, I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh my God, I'm like a zombie," And they were like, "Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, I had so much fun. Can you come back tomorrow?" And I'm like,
You're like,
"No,
oh my gosh.
I've
But
got to
like
recover."
now that we've as we're awakening more and more and learning our boundaries and whatnot, but like even though when we're put in those situations, I feel like I have personally learned how to transmute that and like
Yes.
alchemize those feelings. So it's also with discernment on who you hang out with, but also you kind of know who has like the good in their heart. Like there are people who just need your light a little bit, and that's
Mhm.
like why we're here. So it's kind of learning the discernment of who's sucking your energy because they like selfishly, than like people who like really need your light to hold space for them is
Yes.
important.
Mhm. Yeah. And then once you figure out like how this works and how you can protect your energy. And we in the beginning, like I learned about doing the pyramid of light from Dolores Cannon, so it's all about putting the pyramid of light around you. And then, you move into another stages of it's like, are you grounding? And you're like, oh, I'm
Uh,
supposed to do that, oh yeah, you're an electrical being. I'm an electrical being. I'm made of energy. Oh, so that's important, And so going out and barefoot on the ground and intention is so key. And, being out in nature and meditating. And it's like, why do we have to do all these things? There's so much needed. One, because we are energy and we need to transmute density. But,
mhm,
when you're trying to, I guess the hardest part for me, going through how I grew up through my trauma experiences and transmuting my wounds was I had a monkey mind, and I did not know what that was about. You
mhm,
know, about the ego being the one that was like telling me all the things I pretty much believed about myself, like you are this and you are that and you are, you can't do this and you can't do that. And I believed that voice for so long. And I realized like that is what awakening is about too. Is like dissolving that part of us and
mhm.
dismissing and changing the mindset for being so negative because I was so negative. I had
Me
such
too.
like the negative
Oh yeah.
self-talk. Oh
Oh,
my
so bad.
gosh.
Well, it's so funny because like in my mind, ego, like even when I first awakened, um, I've always been about like ego, like I've always seen ego, but like for me, the ego was like very aggressive and like you think of like, the big power, like for me, it was masculinity. Like I have been really working on my wounds around masculinity.
Mhm.
But whenever I think of ego, I think of like big, like very out there, arrogant men,
Mhm.
But like
Mhm.
as I've awakened more, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, ego's way more than that. And my ego doesn't want me to shine.
Mhm.
My ego's like, Marissa, like, come on, like, who are you? Like, you're no one. Like, why, like, really? But then there's like my higher self that like is like literally like fighting tooth and nail. Like, no, you're a fucking shining star. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're a shining
Yeah.
star.
Right.
Come on, like, do you know your heart?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and all of us are shining stars,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
like to really think about like our egos are really like I'll watch videos on like TikTok or whatever. And I'm like, I look at people, I'm like, how do they have so much confidence? Still now, I'm still working through. I think we're forever working with our ego. It's
Mhm.
here to keep us safe. But like even now, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't even want to say envy. I because it's not even like I'm jealous or anything. It's like I look up to people who
Yeah.
like have that confidence and I'm like, okay, how do I like I'm always so curious like okay, what do I need to do to like work within myself to like feel like I can do those things?
Glad you asked because I will share what I've learned.
Okay, let's hear.
So, you hear all about this, you get into like woo woo stuff, but all these these affirmations, right? So, what I've learned is the ego is the one that says, I am, you know, and so when you think about all of the negative self-talk, if you think about how the self-talk is, that is us saying like I am like when I was really overweight, I was like, gosh, I'm so fat. Well, I am, right? Or I am so stupid, or I am so, all of these negative things about myself. Well, you're saying that I am, which means that you are now creating that identity of self, right? Which
Right,
is
right.
ego. All right. So, in order to change that, it's all about the mindset. So, it's not about faking it till you make it. Because I learned that in the beginning. It's like,
It's
oh,
a
just fake it till you
subconscious.
make it. Yeah. But the thing is like you have to literally go, okay, I need to change the narrative. It's not about like faking it and saying like, changing this and changing that. It's about being more conscious of your self-talk, of the negativity and changing the language.
Not even out loud, but in your head too.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't even it's even better when you hear it out loud because when you say it out loud, it's like all of your cells hear it,
Hmm.
and it's just like that vibration of like, I am courageous. Like when you say that out loud, it's like say it. It's like, I am courageous. And it just vibrates in the body. And it's like, holy crap, that felt good. And the biggest thing about where the ego loves to take over is it's so dominating in fear because ego is, ooh,
Just trying to
the
keep us safe.
unknown. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
the fear of the unknown, which is what we're trying to defeat, right? Because there is nothing to fear. The thing is that we are these high dimensional beings, these speck of source having the human experience. We already know how to do all of this stuff. We are trying to remember all of this stuff, right?
Absolutely.
And so when you think about that, like we are from the angelic realm. We are like so high dimensional, multi-dimensional beings coexisting all over the galaxy right now. And here this one minuscule version of self known as Heather and Marissa is having this 3D conversation about this thing. And it's like we already know what to do, but it's just remembering, you
Hmm.
know? And
Hmm.
whenever you think about like the grand scheme, like what do we have to fear? Really? What is there to fear? Because we are eternal beings. Why are we
Literally.
so worried about what people think about? Because honestly, you are just a projection of my reality. Like
Hmm.
I could really go into some woo-woo stuff going like you're not really real. Well, neither am
Yeah.
I. Like I'm a
I
hologram and
love
this is
those
a dream.
conversations.
Right?
Yes, I love those conversations.
So,
Uh,
like, we can go really, really crazy and woo with this, but when you think about that in the grand scheme of things, it's like, why do I take life so daggum serious? Like, where is my fun? We are here in a blimp of this lifetime, this known lifetime in this particular vehicle that, we know as our consciousness, but it's not who we truly are. But without these experiences, without the all of the trauma and all the past lifetimes that we've lived up to this moment, it would not have made us who we are. It has molded us and made us to this very moment. And that's what I'm grateful for. you know?
Seriously, so grateful. I used to, before my awakening, I was very much in a victim mentality, and I
Yeah.
didn't realize it, like
Mhm.
how bad it was, I guess, like really.
Mhm.
Um, and learning the power of like owning your story. Like there's like two different kinds of power, because like being in victim mode, like you're giving your power over to like all of the people, and it's just, but it's, I also noticed like it's an intention grab, but like subconscious, like it's not like I was ever like, oh my gosh, everybody, but it's like, you
Well,
know,
that's what we're taught as a society. I mean,
mm-hmm,
you think about how from the time that you were born and raised, and you think about how we grew up, well, our parents learned the same thing. It's all the
mm-hmm,
program, you know?
mm-hmm,
And victimhood is about searching outside of yourself, where our evolution of ascension is finding our way back inside,
mm-hmm,
and it's just the complete opposite. So without us searching on the outside and figuring out what we don't want, that then lets us internalize it into self and finding our true authentic identity,
mm-hmm.
back to oneness and going, okay, like I understand why the victim mode happened. And of course we can go into some really, that could be another video, but
Oh
like,
yeah.
you know, there's reasons behind all this and why fear is so dominating. um but it's polarizing for us to learn, everything. If you read anything about Dolores Cannon, it's about lessons. Everything is a lesson, and we can go into some,
This
again,
is the ultimate school.
yeah, like this is it. This is the golden ticket, people will say. Like people are lined up, souls are lined up for a vehicle to come in to incarnate at this moment in time, because it is such a grand place to be. And, you know, when you stay in victim mode and you don't want to heal yourself, like this is a really terrible place to be. But on this side, I'm loving this. Like,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Uh-huh. One thing I just think is so like, I guess sovereignty right now is just like, this is just really my awakening of my power was like within the last like couple weeks, because there's been some like obstacles in my life where like I've really like realized my sovereignty. But one of the things I've realized is that there's things I've been ashamed of that I've done, my choices. And by admitting that and owning up to those things, like I like I'm be able to own that power, if that makes sense. Like
absolutely.
nobody can be like, oh my gosh, you did this and this, because I'll be like, oh yes, I did. Absolutely. And guess what? I've learned and I have grown, and it makes me who I am. And so
Yes.
nobody can like take that away from me and try to like make me feel less than, because I know what I've done and I've taken accountability. And
Yes.
that's so powerful in itself.
I agree. I see that with my son. He is 24 years old, and all the things that I'm healing with in me as an adult, and he is a young adult, and I'm like, oh God, dude, I am so sorry. Like, that is my programming. I know that I taught you that. I know that I can even go back to the moments that I said certain things to him that he is now processing. And for me to go, I did that to you and I'm so sorry. And he's like, Mom, I get it. Like, I know you did the best you could. And he's now understanding the healing process. And he's like, this is why I'm so focused on healing me, so that I don't have to do this with my kids. And I'm like, oh God, like for us to be able to heal together is so
Oh my
profound.
gosh. Oh
It's
my
so
gosh.
amazing.
Like, because just you by you healing yourself, and then like having the door for him to like come in and talk about his trauma with you, or different stuff, and then you're being like, I'm sorry, I did do that, like that's
Hmm.
so healing for both of you. And
Yes.
it's like,
Yes.
i I just pray and hope one day that I get to experience that.
Yeah. I'm not, and it's not happening like the other direction, and that's fine because everybody is on their own healing journey. And the cool thing
Mm-hmm.
about this is that it's really about ourselves anyways,
Right.
like our
Mm-hmm.
journey is specifically for us and we had our own experiences. um so whether they choose to heal with us or not, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't
Right.
matter. It does,
Mm-hmm.
it's really nice to have that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also just that wound that we have with them,
Right.
that we wish we could heal, and that's fine, because the way I look at it is when the time comes and we go through this transition and we've done our work, then we can be proud that we did it anyways. That
Absolutely.
we did it for ourselves so that the generations ahead of us will be affected, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I long for, is that, my children's children will not have to go through all this trauma, and to they're hopefully going to be born, like your children will be born on the new earth that we get to experience that's coming up, that we're preparing so hard for. And to me, that's like so rewarding, that we get to go through all this hardship and the breaking down of the systems, and to realizing all of the things that we're healing and going through, and separation and learning. And it's just preparing us for the next phase of our evolution. And that to me is so much more worth than, all the other things that's happened.
Oh, for sure. I know I had a video on this of like how I wanted to be a mom my whole life. And then like I'm 28, which in reality is not old, but I'm from Utah. So,
Yeah.
everybody has kids. But I'm just like, now looking back, I'm like so grateful, because I'm like, I get to fully, I mean, we're never fully healed, but like I get to be at the moment of like, or in the, yeah, I get to embody a more healed version of myself that's more aware. So like we're always going to have triggers, we're always going to have things that are going to bring us back to those unhealed parts of us. But when you're aware of those, it's like you're able to bring yourself back, and then you can kind of course correct too. So like even if you have children, so I think it's really beautiful that like I'm I don't have to do the course correction with my children. Like I really get to start from like ground zero.
Absolutely.
Um
And
for
that's
sure.
beautiful. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I'm
Yeah. And I think that would be a really cool video to do, next would be about the healing part of it. But
mhm,
to give like a quick rundown, the goal is to, we're always going to have these triggers, but how we choose in the reaction of those triggers is what we're trying to fix, right?
right.
Because when you're in the moment, when a trigger happens, we're either going to react and go into fight mode and defend
Mhm,
ourselves, scream, yell, or we're going to go and hide, recluse, go in depression, which is fight or flight, right?
mhm,
That is in the amygdala. That is where ego is, and there is no healing ever going to happen when you're in that state of mind. But whenever you can start being neutral in those emotions and going, pause, I see that I am now being triggered. How can I handle this situation to allow that emotion to flow through me at this moment? Go to the root and heal that. Not saying it's not going to trigger me again, but I'm now catching myself,
mhm.
and it's
Well,
about
practice makes perfect. In
exactly.
anything,
Hmm.
every time you get a little bit better, and also being mindful with your everyday practices like meditation and grounding,
Hmm.
because then your brain doesn't automatically go into those fight or flight responses as quickly or as intensely,
Hmm.
so that you are able to pull back.
Yeah. The first thing that popped in my head was I used to have anger issues. Like I would sling something. If it did not go my way, I would sling it. I was terrible about a hairbrush. If I brushed my hair and like crap did not go, or I was like trying to fix it and I would be like, "Ugh," and I throw it. So that was one of the first things I worked on in the very beginning of my awakening, was like changing my mindset of anger. And so and I still get triggered. Like I'll be walking and somehow a cabinet door will open and it'll hit me in the head and now I'll laugh at everything. And I was like, you try to get me. You try. That was funny.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get angry, or I'll stub
And it
a
makes
toe
life
and I
so fun.
it does. And so I laugh about all these things now. If I run into something, I kick something, I hit something, I'm like, yeah, you're trying to test me. Like this is a
Hmm.
quiz, but I got this, like I'm just gonna laugh it off. And I look back at like where I was, just 4 years ago in my anger to where I am now. I'm like, wow, like I've really done a good job on anger. It, some of the other things, I'm still a work in progress, but like that one was one that I remember so blatantly being so about, and now I'm just like, okay, throw it at me again. Like, oh, something else gonna fall. Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
It is what it is. So it's been really cool. Very
it
crazy.
is so cool. Um, it's fun to see like how you react to things differently. And then also when you do slip up into your older, like, your older programming or let those triggers get to you, I just want to emphasize like how important it is to give yourself grace and like,
Mm-hmm.
because for me, a lot of my emotional reactions is I would lash out, but it took a lot. Like it would take a lot for me. And that's the thing, is that I held in my voice of what I wanted or what I wanted to say for so long that like it built up, built up, built up. And then it was like the littlest thing would make me snap. And then it was just like, and it was like just awful. Like I would hurt
Mm-hmm.
people very badly with my words. And
Mm-hmm.
then I would instantly, like after it got all out, like I felt relief.
Mm-hmm.
One, because it was like I finally got all of my emotions out, but then like there was instant regret because I felt bad because I'm an empath too. So then I can feel everybody's like they're hurt.
Right.
So then I'm feeling everybody else's emotions and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what did I just do? And then it was like self-hatred. I was so mean to myself. I would just spiral into just honestly, it would get to the point where I don't know if you're allowed to say this on like YouTube, but like suicidal, I would
Mm-hmm.
get
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
would I would get into those places where I'm like, I don't even like, I just hurt people. Like, why would I don't even deserve to be here. Like, why would I? And that
Yeah.
is, I feel like not a lot of people talk about that. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, but I don't know, as I've like healed a lot of parts of me, I don't even resonate with that anymore because it's just, I don't let it build up.
Right.
I really speak my mind. And I think that that's such a big thing, is like you don't explode, you don't have these big explosions of emotions when you're actively letting out all of these emotions in
Mm-hmm.
a healthy manner.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely about that because, like where you would have maybe the outburst, I'm the recluse. So I go and hide. And I just bottle everything. Like I just stuff it down and I don't even internalize it. Like I literally go numb on my feelings. And I didn't even realize
Mm-hmm.
this until literally recently. I was going through and I even did like a self reflection one day. And I was like, what does it feel like? Like I can tell you anger, frustration, jealousy, guilt. I can tell you all those feelings very well. But like love and joy and happiness and, like high vibrational ones, bliss. I couldn't even really pinpoint a time when I really felt those things like deeply. And I was like, wow, that's so sad that I feel that way. But it's because I've always suppressed everything to the point where my suppression and my seclusion and isolation led to depression and
Mm-hmm.
also, suicidal things. And so um it was like now it's about where I've always had throat issues, which is so funny because, that really
Thyroid
does.
for me.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
never got diagnosed with anything with thyroid, but I had this weird thing where like something in my throat would come out of place and I would have to pop it back in. It was so weird. It hurt
Weird.
so bad. Um, And I always had sore throats, laryngitis, and of course, you get into energy work, you realize, oh, that's your throat chakra shutting down. And so I literally would feel like someone was strangling me. And so it's just like, don't say anything, don't say
Mm-hmm.
anything. Where a lot maybe you have to, bleh, they have to, spew it out. I was more like stuff it down. And it's kind of crazy how like these different, like you can have overactive, underactive throat chakras, but I definitely was more of like suppression. And so now it's about every time I get into these moments and they test me a lot. My higher self likes to put me in tests. And it's like, how do I react now? So instead of walking away, I need to go, oh, I just got triggered. Okay. Why was that a trigger? Because it has nothing to do with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about that reaction that I got was to trigger that emotion in me. So now it's like, okay, I need to dig deep and figure out where the root is and
Do you
heal it.
sometimes get excited when you get triggered?
Yes, because
Like
now I'm
when I get
like,
triggered, I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have like something like because you want to heal, and so I don't know. There's times where I'm like, I'll feel like jealousy or envy. I'm like, why am I feeling this way?
mm-hmm,
Like, and then I really have to reflect on myself. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's where I need to like what I need to work on, and
mm-hmm.
then it's like a new mission for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like your internal homework, right? It's like,
Yeah.
ooh, there's room for growth. Yeah.
Hmm.
I love it whenever they'll give you a chance. They're like, okay, you're um sometimes I'll get like, okay, what am I supposed to be working on? Because I'll get really diligent about inner work, and it's like child inner work meditation after child inner work meditation. And then my higher self will say, like, I'll literally go into meditation looking for a moment, like, what else can I heal? And it'll be blank. And I'm like, dude, what do I need to work on? It's
Like
like,
I'm in
take
the
a
groove.
break.
Come on.
Yeah, take a break. Take a
You
break. You got to
know.
let all this integrate. And I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, that's the overachiever in me, right? Like trying to
Uh-huh.
like just go, go,
Uh-huh.
go, go, go. And it's like, you got to allow this healing to integrate, Heather. You've got to allow the energy to subside. And there's a lot of healing that takes place when you release this stuff. Like going into the
Yeah.
child version and healing that version of you is way more intense than you think, because it's a ripple out effect through time and space. So it's kind of mind blowing how it works.
It is. It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
It's work, but it's
Um,
fun.
oh, there was something. Oh, you were talking about feeling joy and happiness. And I understand that. Like I feel that because with my awakening, you know, everybody's awakening so different. And that's why like I really want to encourage people to like talk about their awakening because like to me it's so fascinating. I want to know all the things. I'm like, what happened? Like, I don't know. Because I know for me personally, like mine was really magical, but like also heartbreaking. And it's just weird to see all of the emotions. So like my best friend passed away.
Hmm.
And that like I was so numb, like I felt like I was an awful human being. Like I was like, did I not love my best friend? Did I like I was questioning my whole life. I was like, holy crap. I was like, I was so numb. And so I went to like I was already drinking previous, like I've drank in my life, but like I really took it to the next level, and so I started drinking a lot because that's the only way I was able to feel happiness or sadness. And
Right.
I was like waking up drinking, going to sleep. Like I would like pass out on the couch at like 5 p.m.
Hmm.
Like my ex-boyfriend was showing me like photos of like me passing out on the couch. I was like, why would you take photos of me passing out on the couch? One, like, I don't know. That whatever. Anyways, so but then I lost another one of my friends because of my behavior. She was like, I can't be around you. And then it was like two of the people that I really thought I could never live without um left my life. And then there was a person who came in my life that really made me feel seen and heard and loved and in a way that is really, I just don't know how to describe it. Now this is just a friend, and the way I was talking about someone and they're like that's the point, is that the way that they reflected me, it was like there was I don't know how to describe it. It was like I knew I could feel and knew their love for me, that it like made me know my worth and love myself. If that like, and it was I actually had a Kundalini awakening and a big heart chakra opening.
Mm-hmm.
And so like for the next like probably 5 months, like I had, and I wish I kind of knew that what was going on in the moment. I didn't know what was going on. Um, and that's okay. We can't go back in time, but I wish I would have utilized that Kundalini energy and like been able to do more with it, but I didn't know what it was. Um, and now I'm kind of navigating life. It was like spirit like gave me like a little, hey Marissa, here's like your best self. Like, cause I really did. I was like, it showed me like it felt like a truly healed version of me. I was like so intensely happy
Mm-hmm.
and had so much joy and love and um drive for life. I went and to New Mexico because I was like, I need to get out of, I live at my parents' house, by the way. So I was like, I need to get out of my parents' house. I need to get out of the winter. I need to go somewhere warm. And I went to New Mexico for 3 months. And I really found myself there and also found people there that triggered the out of me and really
Right.
highlighted a lot of different wounds that I had, that ultimately was a blessing because I got to heal those. And it was really cool because it was around the solar eclipse in April.
Mm-hmm.
And that like a lot of this had happened. And I went up to, it's called Silver City in the Gila Mountains of New Mexico. And there was this river, and I like it, this river is like so close and dear to my heart. I don't know what it is. I like have such this emotional attachment to this freaking river. Not even river, it's a stream. It's like a creek, but it comes from hot springs. And so this creek is not like cold. Like I literally spent all day. I had like a day of silence with myself, and I did a little bit of medicine,
Mm-hmm.
um, magical
Mm-hmm.
medicine. If you know, you know. And I just had a whole day, and oh my gosh, right after the solar eclipse, it was a couple days after the solar eclipse, and the amount of realize or realization or just like epiphanies. It was just like, oh my gosh, it was like I knew I got some daddy issues here. That's like there really is. I have such a hard up until now, that's something we learned in our little class. I have been working on my wounds with masculinity and with male figures in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big, big turning point in my healing journey. Was realizing a lot of that on that day of
Mm-hmm.
silence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it makes you
Um,
wonder if that creek was or that stream is maybe like a ley line or something. People are very, and I don't know a whole lot about that, but like it makes you wonder, was there, it was at a ley line of energy or something.
Maybe. I also know that I just recently went to Colorado and I went to like the Mind Body Spirit celebration and I did an astrocartology reading. And actually the where I went was actually on a really was on one of my, I can't remember which line it was. I would have to look it up, but it was on like a really good line for me in astrocartography. Did I
Hmm.
say it right? But
I
have
don't
you
know.
heard about astrocartol? Have you ever heard about that?
No.
It's like our natal chart, but it's like on the globe. So like there's certain places that you can either move or just visit that
Oh,
will
I've
like,
I've heard a little bit about that. Yeah.
yeah. And so it was so funny because I was led to exactly where I was with that, which was TRC. But I just had made a trip up to Silver City for the weekend, and they're both very close to that line. And I was like, that's so cool because like I didn't know why, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, is this really the right place to go? There's just a lot of synchronicities with it. And then to have like confirmation like, hey, yeah, this is a really like good place for you to be, and my heart keeps on calling me back there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we talked about this yesterday, but I'm not even gonna get into that. But I have an opportunity or can make an opportunity because I was kind of afraid to go back. Not afraid to go back there.
Yeah.
Questioning if I
But
should go back there because of
listening to your
people.
intuition and
Yeah.
to your God.
So
It's like a good test too, because
mm-hmm,
that's what the higher
mm-hmm.
self says. Connecting with your intuition.
Oh,
So I know we can go on and on and on, but
yes.
you know, this is something that I really foresee us continuing. And I think there's more that we
For
can talk
sure.
about with awakening, and there's more to it. But the biggest thing is to know that you are not alone. And we hope that this is going to be kind of an ongoing series that we don't know where it's going to take. We're really good just tapping into our higher selves and guidance right now just to see where it goes, and giving you information, things that we've learned along the way so that you are not alone. Going back to basics to what we experience, and to know that sometimes being alone is a good thing. Because it does bring you back to your humble self to find out who you truly are. Because
Mm-hmm.
with ego, we have been defined by other people, and that's what we're trying to break away from, is to find our true authentic self. So I hope that you'll join us in this series, and we don't know where it's going to take us. We're kind of like literally going on a whim right now, but we really thank you for watching. And if you like this content, please share this with others, like and subscribe. This is possibly a weekly to a bi-weekly thing. We really haven't
Mm-hmm.
solidified that yet. But we would love for you to join us. And we're both into helping people grow and find their true authentic selves. I do hypnosis, so that's something that I offer as well. And we're expanding. So we're getting into
We
some
are.
coaching and some intuitive healing, and
Mm-hmm.
like how to combine all the things into one. So we're definitely going to be here for a lot of stuff. So if you need to
Yeah.
comment below, do that as well. So we love you so
Yeah.
much. Continue on this journey. Know that you're not alone.
And if there's anything that like resonated with you guys or that you feel that you want to talk about, definitely leave a comment. Like
Absolutely.
we want to hear everything and see what other people, or if there's anything that we said that like you want to hear more about, definitely comment
Exactly.
that so we can make some videos about that, because
Yep.
we're here to help, and we really want to make everyone feel seen and heard in their
Yes.
journeys as well. So
Exactly. So
definitely
thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.
see you next time.